So by now, you probably have heard about the Baltimore, Maryland Francis Scott Key Bridge that collapsed. Some are saying it was planned, it was a false flag, it was a terrorist incident, or it was just an accident. From what I can gather, I'm not sure, and I don't know if we probably will ever know, but I can tell you that someone on a social media site that has naval background said that there were 13 knot crosswinds blowing, and the way it moved, it looked like the wind was pushing it. And we can see in the video that the power went out twice and it lost power, so it was just floating a few times. So I don't know. You have to make the call on what you think happened. But what we're going to go through here is some symbology of what happened, whether it was on purpose or accident. We know the principalities and powers of this air, and God the Father had everything to do with this, especially right now, 13 days before the April 8th eclipse. So let's look at a little bit of symbology in this whole thing. The first thing I want to look at is that it was the Francis Scott Key Bridge that collapsed. Francis Scott Key was the one who wrote the Star Spangled Banner, and it was originally called the Defense of Fort McHenry because that's where he sat for 25 hours, I believe, and watched a battle take place, and the flag was still standing, and that's what it's based off of. Francis means free. Scott means to tax or shield or spy. It just depends on what language you want to pull that from. And key is obvious. It's a key instrument for opening locks and locking locks. It comes from an Old English word cage, which is metal piece that works in a lock, which is a key. It's kind of spelt like cage, though, like a cage that you're locked in. Whatever it is, it's something that opens and closes doors with a lock. The saying scot-free comes from this, which means exempt from royal taxes. Like I said, you can choose what his name means in the context of what happened with this. I think it's safe to say that those who did this will probably get off scot-free. And to me, this looks like a harbinger to the eclipse that's in 13 days. And the door was literally opened from this event by the destruction of that bridge. Now, I mentioned that Francis Scott Key wrote the Star Spangled Banner, and it's the nation's national anthem. It was originally a poem by him, and they put it to a popular British drinking song, which was written by John Stafford Smith for the Anacreontic Society, which was a men's social club in London, basically for getting drunk and being drunkards. And the song was called To an Anacreon in Heaven, or the Anacreonic Song, and it had different lyrics to it. Obviously, because it was a drunk song, so they would sing different things to it. And it was already popular at that time when Key had the poem in the United States. And that set it up when he got the rights to use that music, the Star Spangled Banner, and that's actually where it came from. It started out, obviously, as a patriotic song, and then it had become the national anthem for the United States. Anacreon was actually a poet, and he was into drinking and partying. And Anacreon is made up of two words, Ana, up, and Creon, Lord, Master, Ruler. I want you to notice the first line of the Star Spangled Banner too. Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light. Now remember that dawn's early light, that's the early morning. And we're going to see that actually is related to Dolly, the cargo ship that hit the bridge. Now, Dolly, you can't find really anything, the meaning of the word anywhere. Nobody really knows because it means different things in different languages. But I chose tag-along because that's one of the only that I could find. And that word means for a short time. And I thought that was interesting that we're in Satan's little season and we have a short time. and he has his short time before he's thrown into the lake of fire. And Dolly was actually also a Georgian goddess, and she was a goddess of deer and ibex, which were hooved animals. And like I said, the etymology of Dolly's name is unclear because people can't figure it out. But I did find where some people believe it comes from the Georgian word Dila, which means morning. And I had referenced the Star Spangled Banner in the first line by the dawn's early light, which is referring to the morning. And there's an Ossetian word, de lemon, meaning demon. But people dispute these definitions, obviously. And I'm not sure what the actual meaning is other than the tag along that I pulled from, which is short time. I also want to say, in reference to Dali, there's Salvador Dali, who had a painting called The Bridge in the Dream, and it was actually of a destroyed bridge. I also want to add that the bridge collapse happened 13 days prior to the April 8th eclipse, and we know the significance of the number 13 with all these people, and it was on March 26th, 2024 at 1:28 a.m. Now, Francis Scott Key's birthday is on August 1st, and it just happens to be 128 days from today, March 26th. And it happened at 1:28 a.m. Something else that is real interesting that's connected to the eclipse coming into the United States is the pathway of the eclipse when it enters the United States. At Texas border, it's at 1:28 p.m., and Del Rio actually has a full eclipse at 1:28 p.m. Del Rio means from the water, and it's just west of Piedras Negras, which is Black Rock, which also gets the full eclipse at 1:28 p.m. And since I'm bringing up the eclipse and how it's referenced to Illinois with Macondo and Little Egypt, I want to share the name of the river that this happened on the Patapsco, which means black water, right? Not black rock, but black water, or tide covered with froth. And those are Algonquin words. Now, Algonquin was a tribe, and the first four letters of this word is algo, A-L-G-O. You may remember that in my research on the eclipse with Little Egypt and the Star of Egypt, which was the demon star named Algo. Now, this river has two main branches and a broad delta, which is the upper and lower, the Nile and the Nike Delta in reference. And it is the second longest steel arched bridge in America and third in the world. It's known as the Key Bridge or Beltway Bridge and is 1.6 miles long.